we now have a very good friend and colleague, Chia, Chief Executive President and Chief Executive Officer of Ascension, Illinois Health's Alexian Brothers Behavioral Health Hospital. He's also the Senior Vice President of Ascension, Illinois Health Behavioral Medicine Institute, and does operational oversight of 12 additional hospital-based psychiatric and ambulatory health programs throughout the Northwest, West, Southwest, and metro areas of Chicago. Mr. Chia serves as the president for both the Alexian Brothers Center for Mental Health and Ascension Illinois Health Housing and Health Alliance, and oversees the Ascension Illinois Health Addiction Services. You are also a chairperson for the Illinois Health and Hospital Association Behavioral Health Forum, and you're a board member from its inception of the Illinois Association of Prescribing Psychologists. Thank you very much for that. Clay has been with the Ascension Illinois Health System for 20 years. You previously served as the administrative director of the Alexian Brothers Neurosciences Institute and was the first business development director for Alexian's freestanding psychiatric facility. What has been so extraordinary to our prescribing psychologist movement in Illinois has been your vision, Clay, for prescribing psychologists, not only in Illinois, but throughout our nation. You had determined from the date on which I had first called you to tell you that our prescriptive authority legislation had passed both legislative chambers in Illinois, May 30th of 2014, that you could be a partner to us in shaping the kind of high-level clinical training in medicine and psychopharmacology that every prescribing trainee would attain at large health systems like Ascension. So as of today, as I mentioned earlier, nearly all of our 20 Illinois licensed prescribing psychologists have completed their fellowship training at Ascension. And we have 12 psychologists on track to complete their fellowship training at Ascension and receive their prescribing licenses in 25. So I would like for all of you to hear how Clay became so engaged in our movement, how he became determined to create a legacy of clinical training for prescribing psychologists for the entire nation, and what it is that you now envision for the future of our new specialized niche of practice. Thank you so much.
So I want to read to you the question that Beth gave to me. Clay will describe why he decided to shoulder the innovative but risky role of being the first and largest provider of clinical training for Illinois prescribing psychology fellows. So you're giving me a lot of credit. So in light of having to do like a golden oldies here, I do want to explain, because there's only 3 people that really know how this got started. Me, you, and my wife Laura, who's also a psychologist. But so I was on the IHA, the Illinois Hospital Association Steering Committee for Behavioral Health. And this passed, and it came to us as CEOs of all the hospitals in Illinois for behavioral health, and they said, do you support prescribing psychologists? And we all said no. Nobody said yes. And it was a hard no. And so we figured, okay, so we went home, and that was fine. And I got a phone call. So I'm going to talk to you about the innovative persistence, but it's not really my innovative persistence, right? So the first call was a hard pass no. So Beth called me, and she described what was going on, how this would be a good thing, how we could support this, and would we support it. And I think this is an opportunity to be honest, right? So I do, it's not just funny, but it's also honest, because people in this room are going to be in these situations at some time in their life. And you're going to need to know what to do, how to be persistent, how to make a decision. And so Beth called the second time, talked to me, explained it all. And I agreed that I would be wholeheartedly neutral. And let me tell you why. I had the 7th largest behavioral health hospital in the United States. I had a giant medical staff of 20 psychiatrists, prescribing APNs, psychologists, that all supported our inpatient infrastructure. That is an advantage in the world that we were in, to have that type of bench strength. And it took, 15 years to amass that. So it was not necessarily in any of the hospital's best interest to support this. So went back to the Illinois Hospital Association. They had another vote, and I kind of helped lead that, and I got everybody to be wholeheartedly neutral again. So then the obstacle was out of your way. So then you called me again. We're going back to persistence, right? And we talked. I think somewhere in that whole litany of things, you mentioned community mental health, and we oversee community mental health. We have 4 community mental health centers. We also have 225 people in affordable housing. So we have a big community footprint. And I started thinking about, how do we address those people? How do we make sure that we have the ability to get treatment there? And it's not just the psychologists have to do things that psychiatrists don't want to do, but they should have the opportunity. So here's the tricky part. None of my doctors wanted this at all. So I sat down with our medical director, and I can remember being in my office, just him and I. And I went through all the reasons I thought maybe this would be something we want to do. And he said, okay. I said, well, what do you think? Should we support this? He said, yeah. And I said, okay, we're doing this. So that's the key. All of this that you said before, all the things that Gretchen brought up, all the people that have been through this program, is because we made a decision. And you can talk forever, but you have to make a decision.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And once we made a decision, then it was really easy. Because then I thought, okay, I know where my fights are. It's all my doctors, right? But the key is they're my doctors, right?
Right.
And so our medical director, myself, went to, it was a NAMI presentation.
Yes.
Where we got up, we presented, we talked about the fact that as a health system, we could put this whole grouping of doctors together to do, the preceptor work and be able to handle all that. And there were a few people in the audience that didn't want it, and a few psychologists that said stuff, and I was warned about it, and I finally said, I don't really care because they don't work for me. And once we made a decision, then we had a path, right? And so that's what we did. And then somehow I found myself in Toronto on a panel for AHA presenting on this and talking about how our hospital was going to get behind it. And we started devoting resources, and we worked with Dr. Romreimer on a grant. And all that came into place. But the secret there, in my opinion, is 2 things. One is persistence. So for all of you that have something to do with this or some other passion that you have, and you want to see it through its completion, have the persistence and come back. Keep coming back. And the other thing is, if you are a decision maker and you have that opportunity, it's really not always possible to understand the effect you're going to have when you make a decision. But I couldn't be more pleased with the decision that we made. And by having done that, I don't even know how long ago was that.
That was 2014.
Oh my God.
10 years ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
So having done that, we have all of this change that's come about and all this opportunity. And this is going to be something that when we're done doing this and everybody is used to prescribing psychologists everywhere and it's not a thing anymore, maybe somebody in this room is going to say, hey, well, I heard the talk where how they got this whole thing started in Illinois. And it was not that easy. But in some ways, once you make the decision, it's not that hard either. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this and part of this movement. And
thank you for being such an inspirational leader.
Thank you.
Thank you.